Why hello there, how are you today? Awesome Soul here, and I am still slightly sick. If you're wondering where I've been for the past little while, it's because I lost my voice. I'm sure most of you saw the messages that I left. I think I left one on YouTube and I left one on Twitter as well. So if you're not following me on Twitter, then you probably should be. But anyways, today what we're going to be doing is going over some very interesting things that I've kind of pulled out of the recent D.R.O.N.E Q&A. If you also didn't know, the game is actually up and available for crowdfunding. So if you want to get the game early, as well as get some other interesting perks, you can go ahead and make your pledge over on their website. I personally have already done so because it seems to be a very interesting game, and I'm really excited to see where the development goes. So I'm more than happy to help them out. But anyways, yes, the point of this video is, well, I guess it was to remind you that the crowdfunding is out, but also to go over the interesting points. Now, if you haven't seen one of these style videos, I've done quite a few of these for RoboCraft, but how I will do it is throughout the video, I'll be saying the time codes, and what that will do is it will allow you to go and easily search up when they've said this in the accompanying video. So if you wanted to hear it from them, to maybe pick up on some context you're not quite sure of, you can go and do that. On top of that, these are the points that I find interesting to me, and hopefully will be interesting to you. There are some things in here that I just didn't write down, and I recommend watching the whole video when you have time. Starting us off is a very, very big one. It's something I see come up over and over and over again. No, the game will not have loot boxes. You heard me correctly. Let me make it crystal clear. There are no loot boxes in D.R.O.N.E. This is going to be a skill-based game, and it will not have any pay-to-win. That's also because the game is actually a pay-to-play game. I believe they said they were aiming for around a $40 price tag, which is interesting because one of the crowdfunding goals is a $20 rank where you can get access to the full game. So if you wanted to get the game for 50% off, more or less, then you can go ahead and make your pledge. Though I do believe that does cut you off from things such as the alpha and the demos, etc. Oh, and by the way, that no loot boxes thing, that happened at around the 25-minute mark. 27 minutes in, and we get an answer to something that's fairly commonly asked, and that is drone building. When exactly is that going to happen? Because we have arena building in the game, but not drone building. So they say that it might happen in the demo versions, but it's probably going to be a pre-alpha feature. Now, what does all this mean? Demo, pre-alpha, alpha, beta, full release. You're probably wondering what all that means, and yes, I know it would be a little confusing. So, from what I've gathered, the way it seems to be is that the way they want to do it is that they're going to release a demo about every month. That's what they're trying to aim for, but we don't know if they'll actually be able to pull it off. Some might come sooner, some might come later, but there are going to be 6 demos, and then there is going to be a pre-alpha test, which is closed to certain levels, then there's the alpha, then there's the beta, and then there's the full release. Certain tiers have access to certain things. But yeah, that still means the pre-alpha is going to come fairly quickly, sort of. So if we don't get it in the demo versions, then we will still get it relatively soon. Next up, at the 28-minute mark, there is going to be multiplayer and ranking in the basic level of the game. And the basic level of the game means that if they don't reach any of their stretch goals, no matter what funding level they have, they're still going to release a playable game, complete with, like I just said, multiplayer and a ranking system, though it's going to be a fairly basic one. Again, if you want to have much more advanced features, then you're going to have to pledge higher and higher goals for the community to get more stretch goals unlocked. But from what I've seen of the day one support, things are looking fairly promising. Anyways, moving on, half an hour into the video, we come to something that's pretty interesting, and that is weapons will have levels and upgrades, and this will determine their tier. The other interesting thing is they said it's going to act differently than tiers in other games, but they didn't really specify. Again, if you want to hear it for yourself, just follow the time code I said a little while ago. 3 minutes later from there, somebody asks if friendly fire will be a thing. And the answer is yes and no simultaneously. So what they mean by this is that you can actually set up the game how you want it. There's going to be a bunch of different rule sets in the rule set editor, and one of the toggles will be friendly fire. So if you want friendly fire on in your arena/match, then yes, you can have it on, or if you don't want it, you can easily turn it off. A minute after that, there was a question about story mode, and I've seen this one come up rarely, but there definitely are people out there who want their single player experience. And the answer to this is actually a yes. However, it is a very far stretch goal. So unless we get an insane amount of support for this game, there probably won't be a story mode. Soon after that, we have something for the ninja-like players out there, the ones who like to sort of hide and sneak around. They say there's going to be many stealth options, though I'm sure some of these will be as stretch goals. So there's going to be camouflage paint, there is going to be parts that turn off lights near you, and of course there is going to be active camouflage, like, you know, turning your drone transparent. Those are the ones they've highlighted, but I'm sure there's going to be a couple more. About 37 minutes into the video, somebody is wondering if there is going to be work continued after full release, and the simple answer is yes. They will continue to work on the game after full release. So don't worry, there's always going to be new content coming to the game. And also a couple seconds after that, somebody asks about hinge blocks. Like things that you can have armor fold up and fold down, or make sort of a flying centipede like in one of the videos they've shown off. And yes and no, but it's a no until we can actually reach the stretch goal. Now, here's one that I'm sure a certain subset of people are going to be really happy about, and that is emotes and taunts are going to be available as part of a flag system, and perhaps other parts besides flags as well. So what it seems like is if you score a kill, for example, you can press a button and it will raise up a flag, maybe with a grinning alien on it or something like that. You kind of know what I mean. Oh, and by the way, that was at the 40-minute and 20-second mark. 30 seconds later, somebody asks, will the wind affect your drone? And yes, it will, but in later versions of the game. Currently, the wind has no effect. And interestingly, there will be certain parts that you can use to make your drone less prone to being blown around. About at the 43-minute and 30-second mark, we come to one that is going to be good news for some players, as the game basically is divided up into 3 components. There is the actual action gameplay component, there is the drone building component, and there is the map building component. And not to worry for those very interested in building maps, it seems like there is going to be a reward system for you, not just for those who actually go and play the maps. There is one for those who make the maps as well, which is a very nice touch, because I myself definitely fall into the map making category quite a bit. Though that's certainly not to say I don't like the other focuses of the game as well. 47 minutes into the video, and we come to another stretch goal topic. This one is going over something interesting for map builders, I guess kind of tying into the other topic about map building. So if this goal is reached, there is going to be aggressive flora and fauna, most likely alien in nature. So things like giant Venus flytrap kind of things that would leap out and grab a drone that's nearby. Having those kind of things on a map would be really cool, especially for those who like to build more naturalistic kind of maps. You wouldn't really have as many options when it comes to traps and hazards. So with things like those, that would help out those style of builders quite a bit. A few seconds later, we're given more detail on the coloring system, which I never really gave much of a thought of. I just kind of figured that, oh, you know, you get your colors and you paint. But how it's going to work is that you can pick any color you want. Yes, keyword seems to be any color, which is very awesome. But you must place those colors into a palette of 16, and then you can use them on your drone or your map. Now, that's actually not too bad. 16 might seem like a somewhat low number, but if you can select literally any color, then all 16 of those colors will be useful to you. So none of those 16 will go to waste. And also on top of that, if players could pick literally any color on every single individual part of their drone, then I'm sure it would probably cause some issues. Maybe with rendering in, especially on lower end PCs, you might lag out some other players, and it's probably not too good. So doing it this way I don't actually have a problem with, especially that part saying we can pick any color. That's what I'm very happy about. A minute later, at the 48-minute mark, somebody is asking about the player count and how high will it actually be. So, much like the other rules, it's going to be highly customizable. You can set it to as many as you want. However, the global maximum is most likely going to be 16 players. So that means 8 per side, which is still pretty solid. And it's actually discussed later that you can bring in multiple drones to a battle, so you're not stuck with one. So that means there's going to be a good chunk of variety when it comes to enemies that you're going to face in a battle. As a reminder, and I know there's a good chunk of you out there, water maps and dedicated naval-style vessels are a stretch goal. So if that interests you, hopefully you can get a few other people on board and maybe help back the game. That was brought up at about the 57-minute mark, and a couple seconds later, they did confirm there are going to be melee weapons. Just a few to start out with, but one of the early stretch goals is actually more weapons. And in that section, they do say that they're going to add more melee weapons if that goal is reached. And I don't know about you, but I'm definitely all for more parts and weapons on my drone. The more variety, the better, especially in combat. Going back to the rule set editor, as they've called it, this is at the 1 hour and 2 minute mark, they say that you will actually have 2 options when it comes to damage. The first option is a full health bar option. So if you shoot at a drone, no matter what part you shoot at, it will take damage off of a full health bar. Once that health bar is drained, then your drone will be destroyed. The second option is that parts will have an individual health bar, meaning that if you can somehow aim for it, even at the high-speed combat of drone, you can try and pick off an opponent's weapons before going for something else. And I don't know about you, but having those 2 options in there is really awesome, at least it sounds like to me, because you can do so many cool things with it. It opens up a lot of possibilities that maybe a certain custom fun game mode might not work with only one of those settings in the game. But with both of those options available, you can do a lot more cool things. 2 minutes after that, they do discuss in-game voice. They say they're looking into it, however, it's not confirmed whether they will or when they will get it into the game. Still, keeping along the lines of rules, the way you can play race is actually in 2 ways. There is the death race way, which you can have your weapons enabled, or there is the classic race way, which will just simply have your weapons turned off. 1 hour and 16 minutes into the video, we come to something very intriguing. As they even state themselves, they haven't really highlighted this point a whole lot. And that is, drones are spawned from your, quote, mech, and it carries drones of your choice into battle. This basically acts as a mini spawn point / base hybrid, and you will be able to switch your drones from there. Presumably meaning you can fly back to your mech, and you can switch drones without having to lose a drone. Now, they didn't really describe the mech in much detail, but the way I personally envision it is some kind of quad vehicle, like a quad-legged mech, that you can control and or tell it commands where to stay or where to move to, so you can move it to a more secret location where people can't really find. And why hide it, you say? Well, for 2 reasons. 1, obviously you'd want to keep your spawn point fairly hidden, and 2, you also wouldn't want people to go ahead and find it, because they could either camp you out, or they could destroy your spawn point. Now, a running theme is that there are a lot of rules to this game that you can edit yourself, and one of those rules is that you can toggle the ability to either have this mech take damage or not have this mech take damage. Personally, I would probably play most of my games without having the mech take damage, but maybe for some sort of crazy hide-and-seek game mode or base defense game mode, I would have it turned on. Coming into the home stretch here, at the 1 hour and 18 minute mark, they talk about rotating platforms, hinges, and pistons. And this is in regards to either the map or drones. So, rotating platforms, hinges, and pistons for maps, they say, quote, most likely. However, for drones, when it comes to, again, rotating platforms, hinges, and pistons for drones, it is a stretch goal. So no guarantee on that one. About 3 minutes later, they talk about the Powerball mode, which is something they haven't really talked about too much since really announcing it initially on their website. And you can kind of think of it as Rocket League with guns. At least that's kind of my description for it, though I think somebody from the chat said it a little better by having it described as rugby with handguns. How it kind of works is you'll have the ball that you can grab and you can pass it on to your allies, but it's going to kind of float in front of you. They do say there's going to be a specific part though, so I guess if you really wanted to, you could have this part attached behind you, so you could grab the ball from behind or you could grab the ball from above. But honestly, I think having it in front of you would be the better idea. And yes, you can, like I said, pass it off to other players, or if you're on the other side, you can try and shoot the person who has the ball, kill them, and steal the ball for yourself. And the goal there is to try and take the ball back to your base. And doing so will score a point. At least that's how I kind of remember it happening. Again, the time code is there if you are interested in hearing it for yourself. Next up, we have one that pertains especially so to people who back the game at much higher levels, because they'll have access to, demos and alphas, pre-alphas, betas, and so on and so forth. So they say that they will try their best to have maps work even in alpha, beta, and full. However, they cannot guarantee it. So I'm really hoping for this, because I kind of built my map assuming that the map editor was in a pretty solid spot and there wouldn't really be any issues moving forward. But that's okay, at least I got a lot of practice on that map, and as the game progresses, I'm sure there's going to be more features added to the map maker. Features that I could use to make some really cool things. So I guess it's not all bad. And the final point here at the 1 hour and 31 minute mark, they say tiers will work differently than in any other game. Quote, very dynamic is how they've used to describe it. So that will do it for all of the points that I found interesting to me, and hopefully you will find interesting to yourself as well. There are some other things that they did go over that I didn't cover in this video, so I want to make clear, if you do have the time, I highly recommend you check out the original video for yourself. Maybe just play it and listen to it in the background, as it is relatively long, but visual-wise, you're not missing out on a huge amount. It's basically them just kind of playing around with the demo and showing off their recording system, which is very cool. So I guess if you haven't seen it, then you probably should watch as well. But anyways, with that guys, I thank you all so very much for watching. Hopefully I'll be getting a little better relatively soon. I'm pretty much already there. So expect some more videos from me soon-ish. Anyways, let me know what you think of everything discussed today, and I, of course, have been the Awesome Soul. I thank you all so very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.